Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks from Nerd Caliber, bring you nerd news that has happened over the past week since our last show last Tuesday. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook and Instagram as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on the remnants of Twitter, and Burley Adopter on a couple of other places. I think I have Hive is back up, maybe. And then Mastodon, Newsy at social, however that works. Anyway, before we get into tonight's decent-sized roster of nerd news topics, we will, as we usually do, ask you to follow us on Twitch. That right there on your screen is the Twitch URL, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. We broadcast, there's an old term, I'm an old guy. We put this out on Twitch. We stream this. That's the word I'm looking for. We stream this on Twitch, on YouTube Live, and on Facebook Live every time we do the show. So twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. If you have a Twitch account, please go there and check us out. Maybe think about following us, supporting us there. And already, before we even get into any of the topics, Luminous, welcome to the show. This is hello all. I can turn off my sound when you talk about the Ant-Man trailer. So, in addition to comments from you and other people about not wanting spoilers, the trailer parts of these are going to be pretty quick, and I'm not going to do a lot of spoilers. I mean, yeah, you can turn off your sound. There will be sort of spoilers if you literally have not read anything about, the trailers that have been put out there. But I won't go into any of the deep speculation that other people have about, what's this appearance mean? Who is that character? That sort of stuff. They'll just be quick. This is real cool. Isn't this neat? It kind of has this tone, this feel, blah, blah, blah. So, but absolutely feel free to turn your sound off. That's, definitely your call. Let's see, when I'm done talking about Ant-Man, I'll just do a wave or something. All right. Our very first topic tonight is something that harkens back to actually even prior to my childhood. That is a scene from the 1954 giant ant nuclear monster horror movie, Them, with an exclamation point at the end. The news is that Michael Giacchino, Oscar-winning composer for Up, and first-time director on the Werewolf by Night special on Disney Plus that dropped just prior to Halloween, this past Halloween, has been picked to direct a reboot of Them for Warner Brothers. Now, he says that this is apparently a movie that's lived in his head ever since he first saw it. And he was really keen on, doing something about it, making a movie, a reboot of it if he ever got a chance. Apparently he's got his chance now. He also says in this article on Deadline, his quote, "What I love about Them is exactly what it's called. Them. It's about the other, the unknown, which one refuses or can't understand. The current version of Them," and I think he means the current version he's working on, of Them is about immigration and tells a story about the subject through a lens of this insane science fiction monster movie. And Deadline says, teases Giacchino about what his early vision is for the pick. So I think that makes sense. I think it's a logical way to sort of integrate this, otherness, story into something where, or from something where it's clearly no longer really that much of an issue. Nuclear war is going to hang over us as long as there are nuclear weapons, but not like in the 1950s. Luminous, giant ants. I just hope it isn't lame CGI. I want puppets. I'd like to see a nice combo. Frankly, full-size puppets or even, incredibly well-done stop-motion puppets at the size of what these ants are, assuming they're going to be that same size, and assuming they're going to be ants. I don't know. Hollywood hasn't been able to pull that off. But, we can see, if they do the sort of CGI monster work that we've seen in the various Star Wars streaming products. Those are really amazing. So I'd be happy with those. Pardon me. But just announced, we obviously have no idea when this is going to happen. We do know that since he is primarily a composer, Giacchino is going to follow in the John Carpenter footsteps and actually write the score for this, which is something that Carpenter does for most of his movies. He both directs them and scores them. So that's cool. He composed the score for Spider-Man No Way Home, Star Trek, The Batman, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, one of my absolute favorite movies. So, yeah. And, of course, again, won an Oscar for the score for Up. So, if you haven't seen Werewolf by Night, he does a very creditable job. He does an excellent job of evoking, I said in my review, this sense of 1950s sort of horror movies. Actually 30s through 50s horror movies. And so he's kind of a natural fit for this reboot of them. So we'll hear more about it as things go along, and we'll tell you about it as casting and so on happens. Assuming it does happen, it's Warner Brothers. Who knows? But fingers crossed. All right, moving on to our next topic, and that is the Sea Beast has confirmed there will be a sequel to that Netflix movie, which is apparently a very, very popular Netflix movie, way more than I thought. I have not seen it, so I can't say anything one way or another about its quality. But it was in the top 10 for 40 days or more in 30 different countries after it launched on July 8th. So apparently it was pretty big. So the news is there will be a sequel, but that is as part of an overall deal that Netflix has signed with the creator of the Sea Beast, Chris Williams. Williams was primarily known as an animator who won an Oscar for animation work on Big Hero 6 and was nominated for similar work on Moana. And then this is his first movie where he is the complete creator and apparently super popular. So in addition to announcing that there will be a sequel to The Sea Beast coming from Chris Williams out of this Netflix exclusive deal that he signed, his other intellectual property work is an original fantasy that is, and I quote, in the tradition of the Lord of the Rings, but with the attitude of the Princess Bride. So that could be a lot of fun. And clearly this guy is pretty good at doing fun. Now, people who unfortunately aren't on the show tonight, but in our group of people who do appear on the show, some have said that the Sea Beast is, if you've seen how to tame your dragon, you've pretty much seen the Sea Beast. Very similar beats according to people within our group. But again, I haven't seen it, so I can't say whether it's particularly derivative or not. It certainly was a big hit. So a lot of people liked it. That's not necessarily a good thing, which we'll get to in a big upcoming piece of news. But again, just announced. We have no idea when the sequel will happen or when the Lord of the Rings meets Princess Bride other project that he's got, for Netflix coming up will happen. But good news for Chris Williams, and really cool. Honestly, these last two stories, you've got a composer, and granted, an incredibly successful composer who won an Oscar, and then also an animator, both of whom have stepped up into the director's chair and the filmmaker's chair, and good for them. Like to see it. Move that out there. All right, our next project is the least surprising bit of news to come out of Netflix. Speaking of Netflix. Wednesday has been renewed for season 2. Just got announced this last week. This is absolutely no surprise. This is only the third show ever to cross the 1 billion hours viewed mark on Netflix. Did so in less than a month. Became the second most watched U.S. made show on Netflix behind Stranger Things season 4. So yeah, it was pretty much a lock that this thing was going to be renewed for a second season. Um, I think that's great. I again in my commentary on this, I've said that this movie literally lived and died based on whether or not Jenna Ortega worked as Wednesday, because she is in, I think, 50% of every shot in this movie, at least, most of them in fairly tight close up. Um, and if she doesn't sell it, the movie, the series didn't work. And it worked really well. She was fantastic in it. Everybody was fantastic in it. And it was predictable. Not everybody. There were some, particularly the male characters, were meh as actors, or their roles were not terribly well developed. But for the most part, it was really good acting. And yes, the plot was predictable. Yes, it was executive produced by and many of the episodes directed by Tim Burton. And the level of Tim Burtonisms is like here versus any other movie he's made in the past 10 years, where it's like here. And that's a good thing. It certainly could have been just, oh my God, this is so Tim Burton, I can't take it. And it doesn't turn out to be that way. So, and that's a good thing. So yeah, no surprise here. It was just insanely popular. Again, no idea when it's going to drop. I'm guessing 2024 at the earliest, because they just announced this and it just ran in November. But we'll see. And again, we'll keep you updated. If there, God forbid, there's any sort of change in casting, particularly Jenna Ortega. If Jenna Ortega leaves this and they have to recast Wednesday, that frankly is going to be like The Witcher season 4. If they even make one. Liam Henson trying to step into Henry Cavill's shoes. And I think anybody else trying to step into Jenna Ortega's shoes in Wednesday would be terrible. But I doubt that that's going to be the case. Insanely popular. I'm sure Jenna Ortega can essentially write her own check with Netflix at this point. Let's hope she does, because she did a hell of a job. All right. Our first trailer, for those of you who are not into trailers, and again, these will be pretty, just very quick hits, blast through them, is for the upcoming latest movie in the Evil Dead franchise, Evil Dead Rise. 2 trailers dropped for this past week. The Green Band trailer, which is for all audiences, as it says in the trailers, and the Red Band trailer, which is R-rated, hard R-rated. This is from the Green Band trailer, and so the Green Band trailer is pretty bloody for something that is rated for quote unquote all audiences. The Red Band trailer is disturbing. It's yeah. I like I said, I'm not going to talk a lot about what's in the trailer, other than the fact that this does have the tone, certainly, of the first few movies. More of the second movie than certainly of Army of Darkness. But it does still have some of the humor, clearly. It is a different cast. Bruce Campbell is not in this. He's made that clear, even though he and Sam Raimi are both co-executive producing. The director is Lee Cronin. Made a movie in 2019 called The Hole in the Ground. Never seen it, never even heard of it, frankly. But he was handpicked by Sam Raimi. So he's probably pretty solid at this. And the trailer basically just shows off, the story of these 2 sisters. This updates the story in modern times. 2 sisters, Elle and Beth, who come across the book, they call here the Naturmon de Monto. I thought it was the Necronomicon, but I could be wrong. And stupidly read some of the stuff from it, and of course, terrible things happen. It looks very frightening, but Evil Dead frightening. Yes, there are parts of it that are going to be scary and disturbing, very disturbing. but that's also kind of campy. Um, when the particular let's call it, say, antagonist really ramps it up. They really ramp it up. Um, Obviously, trying to get that Bruce Campbell, level of sort of ridiculous baddie, and it looks like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. It is it's a Warner Brothers movie. It is coming out on April 21st. Um, Apparently, this was supposed to be just HBO Max, and then it got, with all of the big changes at HBO Max, moved out to theatrical only. So it will not get a date. Well, nothing gets a day date anymore on HBO Max. They've killed that. But it will be in theaters April 21st. The article here on IndieWire that I'm using to reference most of the stuff has the green band trailer, which you can click on, and then a link where you can go find the red band trailer. So nobody makes a mistake of accidentally clicking on that, which is, good on them. Yeah, so it looks like a lot of scary, spooky, gory fun, right in the tone of the Evil Dead movies. Our second and maybe even more amazing trailer is Renfield. If you've not seen anything about this, then I'm kind of hesitant to tell a lot about it. But I guess you're seeing the image here, so it's not like this is giving anything away that you don't know, or yeah, I guess you're not going to find out. The movie stars Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage. Nicholas Hoult plays Renfield, Dracula's sort of local assistant. It's set in modern times, and Renfield is trying to deal with the fact that his boss is a evil, terrible, manipulating monster. But to help get the things that Dracula needs to live on, as it were, Dracula has given him a smidge of his power, which he apparently activates when he eats bugs, which is out of the book that Renfield eats bugs. And he essentially is superpowered, and that's a lot of fun, and it's pretty funny. But for all of how good Nicholas Hoult is in this, when Nicolas Cage shows up in that trailer, I mean, Nicolas Cage is going to steal this movie. He steals the trailer. He's going to 100% steal this movie. I think Nicholas Hoult probably must have known that going in, and he was fine with it. He is the star. He is listed as the lead actor in this because he plays the main character, Renfield. But, man, I'm watching this going, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And then Nicolas Cage shows up, and I was like, holy crap, that's so amazing. So, yeah, it looks great. I can't wait for this. It is a universal release that is also coming out in April 14th. This is going to be tough, right? On either side of my birthday, I get Renfield, and then I get what the heck were we just talking about? Evil Dead Rise. So, yay. I'm trying to think. Cage. This is a quote from this article in Polygon. Cage apparently told the magazine Empire recently, "This will be a pop art Dracula. Warhol did a great black on black Dracula. This is in that Warhol vein." I don't see it. I mean, I kind of see it. It is super exaggerated. I mean, he is so chewing up scenery, but that's Nicolas Cage. He doesn't need to invoke, Andy Warhol. He just needs to be Nicolas Cage. So anyway, April 14th, it looks just a lot of fun. The premise alone about sort of a modern Renfield who has kind of superpowers given to him by Dracula, particularly triggered when he eats bugs, as a action horror comedy, I sold 100%. And then when Nick Cage showed up, I was like, well, yeah, I might actually go into a theater to watch this. assuming the latest variant doesn't kill all of us. Anyway, we're about to get into the Ant-Man trailer, Luminous. So here you go. Here's your warning. Feel free to turn that sound off, or anybody else who doesn't want to hear any of the stuff. And remember, I will give this wave when we're done. We're not done because we haven't started. Last night during the Monday Night Football game, the latest Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer dropped. And it doesn't add a ton to previous trailers. What it really does in tone is ramp up the stakes for the people involved in this movie. So director Peyton Reed has said, and this is a quote in this article on EW, which is a quote from something he said back in December, said, people feel like, oh, these are fun little palate cleansers after a gigantic Avengers movie. For this third one, I said, I don't want to be the palate cleanser anymore. I want to be the big Avengers movie. So we know this has all of the cast of the main cast of the Ant-Man family. So, of course, we've got Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. We've got Evangeline Lilly. We've got as Hope Van Dyne. We've got Catherine Newton as the new, sort of late teen version of Cassie. And in the picture, obviously, in sort of what you might assume will be her stature armor for when they eventually make a Young Avengers movie. Get on it and announce it, please. But also Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, David Dastmalchian is back as Feb. Bill Murray as Lord Krylar. And we've seen some things that have been teased, have now been confirmed as characters that will be appearing in this movie. The big thing that they're trying to do with this clearly is to set it up that Scott's going to die. That is 100% clear from the tone, from the scenes that they're taking, from the way they're presenting this trailer. It's like the last trailer, which makes you worry that Scott might die, wasn't bad enough. So they apparently decided, no, we got to make it abundantly clear. We want everybody to at least think that Scott is going to die. And it certainly seems like that in this trailer. So we'll see when this comes out. We do get an awful lot more of Jonathan Majors as Kang, and that's good. I like that he really starts to sell this character as a villain. Because remember, we've only seen him as the version of Kang, He Who Remains, who is insane. And kind of, jokingly, hilariously insane. So we've heard little bits of his dialogue where he does come across as pretty villainous, but they really lay into him, or let him lay it all out in this trailer. And that's a really good thing. Come on in here. This is coming out February 17th. That's right. We've basically just got a little over a month, folks. And again, I'm very much looking forward to this. So, that's it. That's it. Luminous, we're done. We're done talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and the trailer, therefore. All right. This is an image, actually, an official image from D&D, the D&D website. Obviously, there's a whole lot of interesting D&D monsters and villainous type creatures in here. The news is about D&D and D&D Entertainment, but it has nothing to do with the movie that's about to come out. Paramount Plus, this is an exclusive coming out of Deadline. Paramount Plus, according to Deadline, has given already an 8-episode straight-to-series order for a live-action series adaptation of Dungeons & Dragons to be run on Paramount Plus. This will be made by Hasbro's E1, their entertainment unit. that all sounds really cool. It is going to be run by, as a showrunner, Rawson Marshall Thurber, who has written the pilot script. He's set to direct the first episode of the series. Thurber made Red Notice. Now, that was the movie on Netflix, the art thief spy, well, more art thief thriller. It's not really spies, but sort of. With Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot and Dwayne Johnson, roundly criticized by critics as being not very smart or good or entertaining. Luminous, but can they top Mazes and Monsters? That had Tom Hanks. Who knows? Maybe they'll cast Tom Hanks in this as a wise wizard or something. That would be hilarious. I don't know. It'd be tough. It's going to be really tough to overcome Mazes and Monsters. The wonderful, oh my God, D&D type games are going to, kill our college students. Anyway. If you don't know what Mazes and Monsters is, folks, go look it up. It's very interesting. But Thurber made Red Notice pretty much panned by most critics, although it is, to this date, the most successful Netflix movie, the most watched Netflix movie ever made. Of anything Netflix has made as a single standalone movie. So, he gets credit for that, even though his script for it is generally considered to be, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's generally considered to be mostly there to be a large ad placement vehicle for Dwayne Johnson's and Ryan Reynolds' booze businesses, which are featured heavily in the movie. It's not well reviewed. The fact that he gets to be the one in charge of D&D makes me a little concerned. And I don't know anything. I don't have any reason other than the fact that he made Red Notice to back that up. Partly because he doesn't have an awful lot of other stuff under his belt. So we'll have to see. We don't know when this will happen. It's been ordered to series, which means they are going to start running to get this thing made. They don't have to make a pilot and get the series order. Apparently they did it just on the strength of the script of his pilot. This also could be a 2024 thing and not 2025. So, fingers crossed that they do get it off the ground that quickly, but also fingers crossed that Red Notice was swamped by what I'm assuming are contractual obligations from some of the stars. Ryan Reynolds has to be a certain level of funny. Dwayne Johnson can't lose fights, blah, blah, blah. They both have to get their booze and plenty of shots, etc. If Hasbro has not put anything like that kind of requirement on this, and why would they, then this could be good. It's a series, so I don't think they're going to get somebody who can put those kind of restrictions like a Dwayne Johnson or a Ryan Reynolds as a star in this. My guess is they're probably going to go with fairly unknowns or up-and-comers. But we'll see. When they do announce casting, when they announced any further stuff, we'll let you know. And now we're going to be moving into this last sort of maybe topic, maybe not. This is, of course, an image of Ezra Miller as Flash from the Justice League movie. The news is that Variety put out an article back on January 4th that basically made a bunch of just straight up statements about how DC Studios, the newly created unit that James Gunn and Peter Safran are running, are planning to handle certain things in the future, including some statements about Wonder Woman and some statements about the Flash, and particularly about Ezra Miller, including that they are apparently looking at potentially keeping Miller on as the Flash, thinking that their rehabilitation actions or statements or whatever are strong enough and valid enough for that to happen. Within a day, James Gunn was asked on Twitter about the article in general, and someone said, James Gunn, please debunk this one. And Gunn replied right off the bat, I hereby debunk it only because it's not true. But that was more in relation to Wonder Woman, because that was the tweet that this person was asking to be debunked was all about. When somebody a couple of days later specifically asked about the Miller part of this article, Gunn said something to the effect of, and I don't have the quote up in front of me, so I apologize, something to the effect of, I haven't read what they've said. Now, he had no problem debunking the entire article previously when it was more about Wonder Woman. When it was specifically asked about Ezra Miller's relationship with Warner Brothers going forward as part of the DC universe, he said something to the effect of, I haven't read those comments. That really seems a political statement to me. And it really seems, for somebody who has been pretty good about being very clear when he thinks articles are wrong, to say they're wrong, that sounds to me like somebody who can't say they're wrong and so has to say something politically neutral. I'd like to be wrong about that. They really need to drop Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller has problems. There's no question about that. And once the legal repercussions of his problems are completely resolved, sure, maybe think about, having him continue, and he is better after lots and lots of therapy and help. They are better after lots and lots of therapy and help. Then sure, maybe let them continue to be involved in the universe in some fashion. But to make plans right now for that to happen when the legal issues that Miller is still involved in haven't been resolved, no. Don't do it. I don't know that Gunn could possibly put a foot down and tell Zaslav that it's never going to happen. I don't know that Gunn wants to put that foot down, but please, Mr. Gunn, as somebody who has been the victim of right-wing abuse campaigns, the amount of crap that the right wing is going to dump all over anything DC related, if Miller is allowed to continue, and the amount of crap that, frankly, the marginalized communities are going to dump all over Warner Brothers, deservedly so, if Miller is allowed to continue prior to the resolution of their legal issues, is going to just absolutely swamp anything else that you're doing, Mr. Gunn, from a public relations standpoint. So don't do it. Cut him off, cut them off, cut Miller off, and if they are able to resolve their legal issues and demonstrate that they've gotten the help that they need, that they clearly desperately need, then reconsider bringing them back in. But it would be silly. Now, is the article on Variety just completely full of crap anyway? Maybe. Variety has not had the track record, particularly with DC lately, that its reputation would lead you to think it would have. I generally think of inside sources are believable and inside sourced articles are believable if they come from Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, and Variety. But frankly, Variety's been kind of blowing it lately with Black Adam stories and so on, and with the previous Wonder Woman coverage. So, yeah, we'll have to see whether or not this or where the story plays out. The story will play out. There's no question about that. Um, the Flash movie is coming out. It's gonna happen. It's coming out this summer. So, we'll have to see how it works, how successful it is, and whether or not that success, June 16th specifically, whether or not that success translates into DC basically saying, yes, Miller's our person. So anyway, folks, that's it. That's the show. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Luminous, hopefully we didn't spoil too many things for you. And thanks for all your great comments. You will see me and Greg, Wonder Llama Photography, at Aresia this Saturday, and I'll be there Sunday. He might be there Sunday. I don't believe we have a table, so we probably won't be up in the mezzanine like we usually are. I'll probably be down in the lobby somewhere. But if you're there, come by. If you are planning and you haven't already done this, you should remember that there's a mask mandate. You have to be masked, and you have to have proof of vaccination up to and including the bivalent booster that became available in early December. If you do not have proof of that vaccination up to the bivalent booster, you will not be let in. So, yeah. So if you are coming to Aresia, be aware of that. And frankly, folks, there are 3 Massachusetts counties now that have been put into a status of concern for increasing COVID numbers. I have friends and relatives who have just recently are still involved in or have just recently cleared themselves from COVID. This newest variant, which is the one that's dominant in Massachusetts, and Aresia is at the western waterfront in Boston, is the most contagious variant ever. Hospitalizations are up in Massachusetts. Infection rates are up. Wear a mask, folks. If you're out in a public area, wear an N95 or KN95 mask. I'll be masked all weekend. And I do have my bivalent booster. I'm all up to date on my shots. Sound like a dog, but I am. I'm still going to wear my mask all weekend because I don't want to get it. Anyway, do stay safe out there, folks. For those of you who are watching from anywhere in New England where you might get snow this Friday, if you like that, great. We're not supposed to get it down here, and it's still going to be relatively mild for at least the next week. So those of you who, like me, don't like paying heating bills, enjoy that warm weather. We'll see you at the next show or at Aresia this weekend. Good night, and bye-bye.